Greetings, squishy mortals. I am the Mad God, serving piping hot tales of fact, fiction, and absolute folly. Go on, like and subscribe, or I'll garnish your soul with parsley. Ah, the galaxy! Billions of stars, trillions of humans, and even more ways to die than there are flavors of cheese. Which is saying something, because I've cataloged at least 437 kinds of Stilton. But never mind dairy. We're talking about war! Endless, magnificent, hopeless war! And I, oh so love this realm. So much dying! I could chow down for millennia on the buffet of war and misery, but none compare to the greatest civil war ever to grace your tiny little comprehension, splitting the largest selection of genetic brotherly perfection and millions of worlds into two camps, Team Daddy or Team Rebellious Son. But before diving into that, a little context from the beginning, shall we? Act 1, Monkeys into Gods. Once upon a time, yes, this story starts like a fairy tale. Humanity was new, soft and tender, easy to mold and tempt. And of course, there is a hero, or is there? A muscular, intelligent, and all-powerful man with long locks and an ambition that could rival some of my siblings. Back to our hero, born amongst the emerging human race, the now-named God Emperor. A little pretentious, don't ya think? He begins his long watch in the shadows of a young humanity, guiding and mentoring them through orgies of calamity, war, peace, innovation, famine, and revolution, until they emerged from primitive monkeys and became something closer to, well, me. Clever. Too clever. Even without the big guy's direct leadership, they managed to construct galactic wonders, colonizing the cosmos with tiny little humans everywhere. It was like a swarm of pollen, beautiful, but inevitably gives the runny noses. Who would have thunk it? There is such a thing as too much too fast. And in their arrogance, they built machines that could think, walk, and make toast in the morning, buttered with jam. I love jam, especially when it's red. You know humans have jam inside them. Delicious. Men of iron, they called these marvels of engineering and death, peaks of genetic engineering mixed with steel that turned a normal boy into a real robot. Think Captain America, but the transformation didn't stop. Which sounds lovely, until those clever tin cans decided to swap breakfast duty for planetary genocide. Oops! Cue humanity running for the hills, or should I say moons, screaming while their toasters tried to eat them. And if homicidal appliances weren't bad enough, along came the warp. A swirling maelstrom of twisted psychic energy, bending space and time, resembling my bathtub a little. Maybe I put too much Nern root in it. The source of all psychic energy in the universe, and where those so-called gods of chaos call home. Think of the warp as an intergalactic spaghetti highway, where humanity learned to drive its city-sized murder ships. However, around every corner the demons lurk, waiting to tease, tempt, and corrupt the human morsels. Ah, the Imperium. What a beautiful place! Also referred to as the ether, the sea of souls, the realm of chaos, and to the simple folk, the warp, the delicious ocean of nightmares, bad dreams, and screaming demon clowns. Humanity just couldn't help themselves and kept poking it, of course, because why not? They needed to spread their golden society across the galaxy, and there was no other way. Yet, And throughout all this murder, another plate kept spinning. Psychers everywhere. Magically empowered humans that could tap into the warp and spill it out into the waking world. Stupid! Of course humans would use it to churn their galaxy into Swiss cheese. Whole worlds reduced to orgies of blood, demons popping out like party favors, and the Imperium to be went up in smoke. Civilizations fell apart. Every human planet became a paranoid little kingdom, all waving their banners and yelling, "I'm important!" Spoiler, they weren't. And then he appeared. The Big E, the Emperor of Mankind, tired of sitting on his earthly deck chair, watching the lesser mortals ruin a towering society, a man so powerful he could make reality itself sit down and shut up. Some whisper he was the result of psyker rituals. Others say he's just a bloke who never skipped leg day. But one thing's certain, he was a man with a plan involving armies, gene forges, and an uncomfortable amount of gold leaf. First draft of his army? The Thunder Warriors! Giant, muscled, roaring brutes who made war look like a hobby. They crushed everyone in their path during the unification wars on Terra. The first planet to be claimed in the name of the big Golden Emperor. A first step in his plan, but these attempts at human perfection were unstable, twitchy, and died like cheap fireworks. So the Emperor scrapped them. "Back to the drawing board," he said, which in this case meant, let's invent Primarchs, because clearly the galaxy needed more angry super soldiers with daddy issues, but these ones were bigger and more perfecter. Terra, 30,000 years in the future, a time when humanity has mastered the stars, conquered death, and still can't agree on where to put the milk after making tea. And here we find him, the Emperor, the Big E, the golden demigod of mankind, a man so powerful he could crush a continent by sneezing too hard. And yet he thought raising children would be a good idea. Ha 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 ha! Oh, you poor fool. Now, our dear Emperor wasn't one for bedtime stories or hugs. Oh, no! He was far too busy unifying Terra, burning techno-barbarians, psychic warlords, and people who forgot to file the proper paperwork. But once he had the world in his golden gauntlet, he decided he needed something more special. An army! He had that! Power! He bathed in it! Hair! Magnificent! But he wanted sons! So he began crafting 20 perfect sons, each one a genetic symphony of power, intellect, and questionable sanity. They'd be leaders, warriors, symbols of mankind's divine future, or as I like to call them, Plan A for a peaceful galaxy, and Plan B for an interstellar family meltdown. He gathered his greatest scientists, magos, and gene crafters, locked them in his secret labs beneath the Imperial Palace, and said, "Make me gods!" And by the gods, they did. Gene seed vats bubbled, lightning crackled, and the Emperor laughed maniacally, a sound like thunder having a panic attack. The result, the Primarch Project. Each Primarch was more than human. They were genetic artistry, wrapped in armor and ego. Imagine sculpting your ideal son, taller, stronger, faster, able to lift a tank while quoting philosophy. Then multiply that by 20 and stir in just enough warp energy to make things spicy. Tingly power that he found through a portal to the warp. Entering it and stealing secrets from my cousins of this realm, perhaps the few entities that could truly spank our boy's backside in the power department. Not the all-powerful entities you should annoy. And so, without a care in the universe, the Emperor infused his offspring with psychic resonance, bound them with arcane wards, and tuned them like instruments, each one meant to embody a facet of his divine perfection. Courage, strategy, intellect, loyalty, cruelty, compassion, and, of course, terrible decision-making. What made them so beautifully monstrous, you ask? Why, maybe it was the multiple organs, ramped-up genius-level intelligence, muscle enhancements, galaxy-leading armaments, or maybe just their can-do attitudes. Either way, the Emperor liked these. Oh, and he gave them names, because what's a demigod without branding? And just when the experiment was almost complete, poof, chaos showed up. Oh, they were watching. The ruinous powers. 4 delightful clowns with a taste for corruption and drama, just waiting for the chance to foil his plans. After all, he's the one that stole from them. They saw Daddy Dearest trying to make himself 20 miniature emperors, and they said, wouldn't it be hilarious if... And so, one warp storm later, zoop! The baby Primarchs were scattered across the galaxy like very angry confetti, each hurled to a different world, desert wastelands, ice worlds, demon-infested hellholes, and even the odd paradise. Some landed on backwater planets, others among empires, and a few landed face first into tragedy. Oh, how adorable! It's worth mentioning here, a caveat, if you will, that the Emperor wasn't the only immortal lunatic walking around back before the golden ages of man. Oh, no, the galaxy was practically lousy with them. The Perpetuals, they were called. Humans cursed or blessed to live forever, dying and reviving like particularly stubborn cockroaches. Some were heroes, some villains, some just bored philosophers with excellent cheekbones. But they all remembered each other across the ages, and our golden boy, the Emperor, knew them well. Among them were Holanius Person, the oldest man in the galaxy, a kindly wanderer who kept reincarnating, trying to do good, and occasionally thwarting apocalypse. Think of him as a cosmic granddad who always turns up when things go wrong. Erda, Erda, the woman who matched the Emperor in intellect and will, a geneticist, a psychic, possibly a former lover, and one of the first to help him shape humanity's destiny. She helped design the very blueprint of the Primarchs. That's right. She's basically their mother. John Grammaticus, a later perpetual and a spy of sorts, always tangled in the Emperor's messy plans, a tool of fate and proof that immortality does not guarantee good decision-making. It's very important to note here that Erda may have been afflicted by that itchy, human emotion of love, and it may have been her that allowed the Chaos Gods to send the little supercharged babies flying across unknown space, and maybe perhaps doing the deed entirely herself. She was brilliant, you see, and she wanted to give humanity new hope, but she saw what he was really doing. Building not a family, but an empire of obedience. So she might have interfered, used the warp to scatter them, to save them from their father's control. And in that single act, she might have ensured 10,000 years of war, death and despair. A lady after me own heart. But alas, either way, go flying the little cherubs did. Now, 2 of those boys, gone, vanished, deleted. Even I don't know where they went. And I know everything, except why spoons always disappear in drawers. Maybe they are with the spoons? But the rest grew up strong, strange, and oh so broken. Let's meet a few, shall we? Horus Lupercal, the son with a set of giant claws. Horus! The first, found, the favorite, the son who could do no wrong until he did. Daddy's pride and joy. Brave, loyal, charming. The kind of child that makes the other 19 want to shove him into an airlock. He became the War Master, the Emperor's right hand. Then turned out to be Chaos's right hand, too. Oops! Leman Russ. The wolf that drinks too much. Raised by wolves, literally. Hairy, feral, loud and prone to solving diplomacy with an axe. Russ was loyal. Yes, but about as subtle as a drunk bear in a china shop. He called the Emperor All-Father. Cute, until you realize he meant it literally. Magnus the Red, the magical mistake. A genius, a scholar, a one-eyed psychic powerhouse with the subtlety of a warp explosion. The Emperor said, "Don't use sorcery." Magnus said, "Got it," and then immediately used sorcery. To be fair, he only destroyed the Imperial Palace a little. A very magic boy. Perturabo, the sulking engineer. Oh, Perturabo, brilliant architect, master of fortresses, and owner of the galaxy's biggest chip on his shoulder. He built walls no army could breach, then joined the enemy because nobody said thank you. Honestly, someone just needed to buy him a cake. Sanguinius, the pretty one. Wings! He had wings. Everyone loved Sanguinius. Hell, I loved the golden boy. Charismatic, noble, graceful, tragic as a soap opera finale. He was so perfect, it made the others furious. And spoiler alert, it doesn't end well for him. Oh, how I cried when the Star Boy gets his feathers ruffled. Haskell could flood my city with the tears. Angron, the walking headache. Born a slave, implanted with brain screws called butcher's nails. Constant agony, constant rage. The man was a perpetual volcano in human form. The Emperor tried to save him by teleporting him away from his comrades. Guess what? That didn't help. Angron became the galaxy's angriest health hazard. Rogel Dorn, the Golden Wall. If you built it, he'd fortify it. If you insulted him, he'd glare until you apologized. Rogel Dorn, the stoic perfectionist, the Imperial Fist. So stiff he probably creaks when he walks. Conrad Kurz, the edgy one. Oh, Kurz, Night Lord's delight. He saw the future, saw only death, and decided, well, might as well help it along. Picture Batman, if Batman enjoyed flaying people alive for jaywalking. Fulgrim, the peacock of perfection, beauty incarnate, grace, elegance, and a voice like silk, dipped in venom. Wanted perfection so badly, he ended up possessed by a demon. Oh, the irony! Imagine ruining your life because you chipped a nail! Rubute Gilliman, the bureaucrat's dream! Order, logic, efficiency! Rubute Gilliman! The only Primarch who made spreadsheets. His world, Ultramar, ran smoother than a Daedric torture wheel. He was so organized he probably scheduled his own assassination attempt. Ferrus Manus, the metal-handed misery! A craftsman! A genius! A man who literally had metal hands, and emotions made of iron, too. He and Fulgrim were best friends once, before Fulgrim decapitated him. Ah, friendships! So fleeting, so bloody. Mortarion, the walking plague. Imagine a cloud of despair with a scythe. Mortarion hated psychers and sorcery, so of course he joined the god of disease and rot. Classic hypocrisy! Now he smells like wet socks and death. Lovely fellow. Lorgar, the preacher who wouldn't shut up. Fanatic! Poet! Zealot! He worshipped the Emperor as a god, which the Emperor hated. So when Dad said, "Stop preaching," Lorgar said, "Fine, I'll worship actual gods instead." And thus, Chaos got its first devoted missionary. Bravo! Jagatai Khan, the motorcycle maniac. Ah, Jagatai, the White Scar, speed made flesh. A warlord raised on the endless steppes of Sheogorath, loved wind, hated politics, and probably thought indoor meetings were heresy. He was as loyal as he was fast, which meant the traitors couldn't hit him, the bureaucrats couldn't catch him, and the Mechanicum couldn't convince him to file a single report. If horsepower were holiness, he'd have been a saint. Corvus Corax, the emo bird. Corvus! The Raven Lord, the moody one in the corner, writing tragic poetry while flaying traitors alive. He came from a prison moon, built an army out of slaves, and turned stealth warfare into an art form. From the shadows, we strike, he said, right before sulking for a few millennia about how nobody understands him. Angsty? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. 10,000 years later, and he's still brooding somewhere in the warp, writing sad haikus. Lion L. Johnson, the knight with a stick up his armor. The lion! The first of the first! A knight so serious, he probably filed a battle plan before brushing his teeth. Leader of the Dark Angels, master strategist, absolute introvert. He loved secrets more than sleep and trusted no one, not even his own reflection. Half his legion went traitor, and he spent the next 10,000 years trying to figure out if it was his fault. Spoiler, it was. Probably. Vulcan, the immortal teddy bear. Vulcan, big, kind, unkillable, the galaxy's friendliest demigod. He was built like a mountain and had the soul of a saint, loved smithing, saving civilians, and making dad jokes mid-battle. Also, he couldn't die. Seriously! Shot, burned, blown up. He just got up again, smiled, and asked if anyone needed help rebuilding. If the Emperor had 20 Vulcans, the galaxy might actually have turned out fine, which is why he only got one. Alpharius, and maybe Omegon, the 2-for-1 special. Now this one's tricky. Alpharius, or was it Omegon, or both? Twins, sneaky, silver-tongued, and so secretive that not even their own legion knew which one was in charge. They were the Alpha Legion, masters of infiltration, deception, and giving historians migraines. Were they loyalists pretending to be traitors, pretending to be loyalists? Yes. No. Maybe. Exactly. The lost Primarchs. The mystery meat. Ah! The missing two! Erased from history. Deleted from record. Struck from memory by Daddy himself. What did they do? Who were they? Maybe they sneezed too loud. Maybe they founded the galaxy's first boy band. Maybe one of them turned the Astronomicon into a disco light. Who can say? Even I don't know. And trust me, that infuriates me. But their absence lingers like the smell of regret and spoiled cheese. And let's not forget the rest of the glorious disaster. If you mix them all together, the poets, the monsters, the knights, the maniacs, you get the greatest family reunion ever, to end in homicide. 20 demigods, 2 lost to mystery, 9 damned to chaos, and the rest doomed to trauma therapy that'll never happen. The Emperor made suns to conquer the stars, and instead they conquered sanity. Oh, it's delicious! The most dysfunctional family since the Aedra divorced reality itself. They conquered worlds, slaughtered billions, and tore reality itself in two, all while competing for Dad's approval. And the best part? He still thought it was going according to plan. Ha 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 ha! Oh, mortals, you never fail to amuse me. So how did the known universe nearly tear itself apart? Well, with the most beloved and honored son, of course. Horus Lupercal, the first found, the golden boy of the Emperor himself, the War Master, the man who could inspire billions and look fabulous while doing it. He was handsome, heroic, and humble. Ha ha! No, he wasn't. He was magnificent, though. Daddy's favorite toy soldier, given command of the Great Crusade, while the Emperor went home to play with his secret Webway project. Basically the biggest gone-to-get-milk moment in galactic history. To begin our tale of madness, we start in the early decades of the 31st millennium. Picture it! Terra, reborn after centuries of war and techno-barbarian nonsense. The Emperor has conquered the planet, declared himself boss of all humanity, and said, "Right! Now that I've unified this mudball, let's unify the galaxy!" Because apparently ruling one planet wasn't stressful enough. Oh, no, he wanted everything. Every star, every world, every miserable little human chewing dirt on some backwater moon, all under his benevolent golden-booted heel. The idea was simple. And by simple, I mean completely insane. Humanity had once spanned the stars during the dark age of technology, but psychic storms and angry toasters, the men of iron, ruined that party. The warp went mad, civilizations collapsed, and everyone forgot how to flush toilets without divine guidance. So the Emperor said, "I'll fix it." He built a fleet of shining starships, raised vast armies of genetically engineered super soldiers, the Astartes, and unleashed them to reclaim the lost colonies of mankind. It was to be an age of enlightenment, science, reason, and unity. Also conquest, forced compliance, and the occasional planetary sterilization. But hush now! We don't talk about that at parades! Now, a crusade needs soldiers. Big ones, shiny ones who can survive getting shot by small suns. Enter the legionaries Astartes, the Space Marines, each legion crafted from the gene seed of the Emperor's 20 Primarchs. Each Primarch was a god among men, and their legions reflected their temperaments. Gilliman's boys ran on bureaucracy and smugness. Russ's lads howled and drank everything not nailed down. Perturabo built fortresses he then sulked inside. Sanguinius was too perfect to live, literally. And Angron, well, he mostly just screamed. The Great Crusade spanned the entire Milky Way galaxy. The Emperor's fleets numbered in the millions of vessels. Battleships the size of continents, troop carriers loaded with tens of thousands of warriors. They liberated or conquered millions of worlds. Whole civilizations vanished beneath the shadow of the imperial Aquila. Some resisted and were wiped out. Others knelt, kissed the boot, and were allowed to live under the comforting tyranny of the Imperium. They even found, one by one, the lost Primarchs, each discovery a grand reunion. Some hugged their father, others punched him in the face. Family, eh? With each new planet, solar system, or sun conquered, the Emperor preached atheism to the masses. "No gods but science," he said, shining like a god. "No superstition," he declared, as people literally fainted at his aura. He built the imperial truth, a grand doctrine of secular reason, logic, and progress. driving his truth across his newly conquered galaxy. And then half his sons started worshipping him anyway, because you can't stop a cult when the object of worship shoots lightning from his eyes and glows in the dark. Lorgar, sweet little zealot that he was, turned the whole thing into a religion. And when Daddy smacked him for it, Chaos pricked up its ears and said, "Ooh, drama." And as the crusade rolled on, for what some would say a century or two, cracks began to form. The Primarchs, those wonderful, flawed demigods, grew jealous, suspicious, paranoid. Some resented their father's secrets. Others envied Horus, the chosen war master. And oh, Horus, the brightest star in Daddy's crown! He led the crusade to glory after glory, until a little incident on Davin turned him from favored son to favorite disaster. Oh, Davin! Yes, yes, that's where it all went gloriously to hell. A swamp world of rotting temples, bloated corpses, and one very bad day for the galaxy's favorite golden boy. Let me, the mad god, patron of cheese, chaos, and cosmic comedy, tell you the tale of Davin, the wound that split reality wide open and started the greatest family feud since Cain hit Abel with a rock. It's M31.005, give or take a few war pickups. The Great Crusade is in full swing. Humanity's empire stretches across millions of worlds, and the Emperor's back home on Terra, building his precious Webway project. In his place stands Horus Lupercal, War Master of the Imperium, the brightest star, the golden sun, the most beloved of the Primarchs. He's out conquering in Daddy's name, slaying aliens, enforcing compliance, and occasionally looking very handsome while doing it. But somewhere in the murk of the Davin system, something begins to stink. A former ally, Temba, planetary governor and loyal servant of Horus, has gone missing. When scouts arrive, they find him holed up on Davin's moon, surrounded by corruption, rot, and weird chanting. "Strange," says Horus. "Smells like chaos," says everyone with a brain. "Let's go check it out personally," says Horus. And that, my friends, is how disasters start. Welcome to Davin! Population. Tentacles. When the Lunar Wolves, Horus's legion, arrive, they find Davin the Third's moon transformed. Once a temperate world, it's now a festering swamp of disease and decay. The air itself drips corruption. The trees bleed. And the locals look like they lost a fistfight with leprosy. But does that stop Horus? Of course not! He's a Primarch. Overconfidence is practically genetic. He orders a full assault on Temba's fortress, a rotting citadel covered in filth and skulls, guarded by diseased zombies and warp-touched horrors. The fighting is brutal. Marines are drowning in bogs, fighting off the undead, and the air tastes like expired cheese. But Horus presses on, determined to face his old friend Temba and bring him back to reason. Inside the fortress, Horus finally confronts Temba, or what's left of him. The man's a bloated, decaying puppet of Nurgle, the chaos god of rot and disease, clutching a wicked-looking blade that hums with malevolent glee. "This thing," says Horus, pointing at the knife, "surely that's not dangerous." Spoiler, it's dangerous! The weapon is the anatheme, a warp-forged relic capable of slicing through both flesh and soul. Temba lunges, Horus parries, and schlunk. The blade bites deep. The War Master falls, bleeding not just blood, but light. The wound festers instantly, seething with warp energy. Even his near-divine physiology can't stop it. The mighty Horus Lupercal, conqueror of 1,000 worlds, is dying. Now Horus's men are panicking. The War Master, dying on some stinking moon. What will Daddy say? Enter the Lodge of the Serpent, a secret society among the Lunar Wolves that had been dabbling in divinate rituals. It's not chaos, they said. It's just spirituality, they said. Idiots! They convinced the others to let them take Horus's body to the Serpent Lodge, a massive temple that oozes bad vibes. There, Davenite priests prepare a healing ritual to save him. It involves chanting, blood, and enough warp energy to power a small sun. They open a portal. Horus's body lies still, but his soul is pulled screaming into the warp. And that, dear listener, is where the galaxy starts cracking. Horus awakens in a dream world, a perfect reflection of the Imperium, gleaming cities, banners of the Emperor, and humanity united under one shining god. But as he walks, the illusion decays. The buildings rot, the statues bleed, the people scream praises not to him, but to the Emperor as a god. The Chaos Gods appear, disguised as benevolent truths. They whisper, "Your father lied to you. He will rule as a tyrant god. He will cast you aside when you've served your purpose. You, Horus, are the true savior of humanity." And Horus, wounded, humiliated, and desperate for his father's love, believes them. They show him visions of betrayal, of the Imperium's corruption, of his brothers worshipping the Emperor like a deity. They offer him strength, freedom, the power to overthrow the tyrant and lead mankind into a new, glorious age. Horus saw it all. The worship, the hypocrisy, the eventual decay of the Imperium. And in his pride, he decided, "I will save humanity from my father." Which is adorable, really. The Chaos Gods offered him a deal. "Join us, and we'll give you the strength to overthrow him. Rule in his place. Protect mankind your way through glorious fire and eternal war." And Horus, bleeding from pride more than the anatheme, said yes. That was the moment. The instant the galaxy's brightest sun traded love for ambition, light for shadow, and sanity for style points. All he has to do is kneel, and oh, he kneels. When Horus awakens, the wound is gone, the flesh is healed, but the mind shattered and remade. He claims the Emperor appeared to him in a vision and gave him a new mission. He starts speaking differently about truth, freedom, the corruption of Terra. His eyes are colder, his aura darker, and when he looks at the stars, he doesn't see his father's empire. He sees his own. The War Master returns to the fleet, smiling. Everyone rejoices! The War Master lives! And the galaxy dies a little inside. From that moment, Horus begins to plot. The Lunar Wolves become the sons of Horus. The serpent becomes his symbol. Now imagine you're Horus. You've conquered half the galaxy, slaughtered a few alien species before lunch, and the entire human race sings your name. You've got an army of demigods, a fleet of battleships the size of cities, and a dad who says, "Son, I'm going home to work on something more important. You take it from here." What could possibly go wrong? Everything. While the Emperor fiddled with his secret project under Terra, Horus was left to command the Great Crusade, but with less guidance and more bureaucracy. The other Primarchs grew jealous. The Mechanicum started whispering, and the seeds of chaos began to bloom like demonic dandelions. You get stabbed by a nifty little trinket that makes you think naughty thoughts, and suddenly you have new friends whispering in your ear. gods of the warp, those four delightful maniacs, Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh, smelled pride, resentment, and abandonment, like a psychic buffet, ready to use their new pawn in their grand revenge. Now, my little fragile mortals. I know you want more, but you can wait. Like all mad things, patience only makes the insanity better and juicier. Stay tuned for part 2 in our Siege of Terra series, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Ta-ta for now!